regularly scheduled meeting of the City Council of Bessemer City. Before we get to our prayer, our invocation, do we have any veterans in the audience tonight? Seriously? Nobody? Usually, well, I was going to, I know a day late, but wish you a happy Veterans Day and thank you for your service, but we'll move right along. Okay, at this time, I'd like to introduce Pastor Stephen Fain from Harmony Baptist Church to deliver our invocation. If you'll come up to the podium, and if everybody would please stand, and please remain standing afterwards for our Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Father, we thank you for this opportunity to be here this evening. Father, it's great to come in here and see the community together, Father. We understand that this is a part of the process of working together, Father. We thank you for everyone here, and we appreciate that they understand they're part of being a part of a community like this, Father. We pray for the leaders, that you would give them wisdom, Father. We pray that you would give them courage and the strength to bear the burden that sometimes they bear, Father. I just pray that as we go through this meeting, Father, as we recognize the children, Father, we thank you for them, for the growth, for the teachers that teach them, Father. And even though we don't have any veterans here today, Father, we are very appreciative for the freedom that they fought for to bring us this ability to meet here and voice our opinions and seek to work together, Father. Through this meeting in the days ahead, I pray that you'll bless this, and as the leaders meet and as they make these decisions, Father, that they'll act in the best interest of the people that they're over here representing, Father. We thank you for this time. We pray that your glory would be seen here. For in Christ's name I pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Thank you so much, Pastor Fain. Okay, our first order of business is to approve the agenda. What's council's desire? We have a motion to approve the agenda as is. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. And now is where we have our special time with our students. This is the time each month that during the school month, we get to recognize the students of the month from Bessemer City High School, Bessemer City Middle School, Bessemer City Central Elementary, Bessemer City Primary School, and Shrine Elementary. And this is a very, very special time for all of us to see all of those and to hear all that they have accomplished out there. So we'll begin with Bessemer City High School.
Good evening. This month, our word was responsibility. Once again, our students nominated their classmate who embodied responsible behaviors. Our 12th grader is Jenny Strickland. Jenny is a very hard worker. Jenny always does anything expected of her. She is always helping people. She is kind and friendly. Jenny is a leader and she always follows the rules, even when no one's watching. She always shows kindness to her peers, stays attentive in class, and more importantly, she cares about our school. Jenny Strickland. Our 11th grader is Gabriella Pursley. Gabriella has been a great influence in my life. This is from another student who said Gabriella was a great influence in their life. Gabriella is always dedicated and makes great choices. She is the friend you want to have around. She's very sweet and is always working hard in class. She helps classmates with any work they don't understand. Gabriella Pursley. Our 10th grader and 9th grader, they were not able to join us, but I will still read their information. 10th grader was Kelly Campos. Kelly always does her work in class. She is one of the most responsible students in our school. And our 9th grader, Kendrell Ray. Kendrell is funny and talented. He is also very kind to everyone. He's responsible and trustworthy. He does his work every day. Kendrell is a respectful young man who shows kindness to his peers, and he helps me with my schoolwork, and he shows great responsibility. Those are our high schoolers. All right.
Thank you. And now we'll move on to Bessemer City Middle School.
Good evening. I am the proud principal at Bessemer City Middle School. I'm Rebecca Wilson, and we have 4 students of the month. We have 2 with us, so I'm going to read the first 2 that are not with us. Our encore, which are our elective teachers, they nominated Dana Dominguez. Dana is respectful and works diligently on her own and with others. She always pushes herself to work hard and put smiles on others' faces. So that's our encore representative. Our 8th grade representative is Jaden Rote. Jaden is respectful, follows classroom procedures, and gets his work done. We do have our 7th grade representative, Vanessa Zapata. Vanessa always gives 100% on her schoolwork and has such a positive attitude towards anything she faces. She's a great role model for other students. And last but definitely not least, we have Leslie Alvarado, who is our 6th grade representative.
Right, yeah.
Sorry about that. I had it all. So Leslie is an amazing student who is kind and always helpful in the classroom. She's a very hard worker and just an overall great student.
Okay, now, City Central.
All right. So first I have Bailey Grant, who is in the 5th grade. Bailey is always prepared for class each day and ready to learn. If she misses a day, she comes in and asks for work that needs to be made up. She takes initiative on anything that needs to be done and cares about her academic life as well as her relationship with other students. Bailey is always showing how responsible she is. She keeps track of items that are given to her and always follows directions. She is never rude or disrespectful. Bailey always strives to be her best self and is always organized. For 4th grade, I have Carla Castro Flores. Carla is the kind of student who can make a teacher smile. She is conscientious, courteous, and dedicated to her work. In the short time I have had her, she has demonstrated that she is willing to go the extra mile to learn. Responsible is too mild of a word to describe her. She's extraordinary. All right, and then for 3rd grade, I have Brian Finney. Brian was chosen by the class to be our student of the month. When I asked the students why they chose Brian, this was a few of their responses. He is a good leader and always helps Miss Carter by watching students if she has to step away for a moment to talk to another adult. He's always nice to me and everyone else in the class. He always does what he's supposed to without Miss Carter having to tell him what to do or get on task. He is a good friend and is always there for me if I need someone. One time I fell on the playground and he was the first one there to give me a hand and ask if I was okay. He's a good helper. I couldn't I couldn't agree more with all these responses. Brian is a phenomenal student and shows responsibility every day in the classroom. He always has what he needs each day. He is always prepared and the first person to give a hand when in need. He is a rock star of a student and such a great role model for others.
And now we have Bessemer City Primary. Do we? Yeah. I'm sorry, Kelby.
Good evening, everyone. I am excited to be here tonight to recognize the MVBs for Bessemer City Primary. Thank you. I coined that phrase. Thank you very much. Our character trait for this month was also responsibility. So today I'm going to talk to you about our 3 students who were chosen from kindergarten, first, and second grade. First, we have in second grade, Ellie Bardsley. Ellie's teacher says that Ellie is such a wonderful student to have in her second grade classroom. She shows responsibility by being a leader in her station group and a role model for making good choices every day. She comes in ready to learn every morning and is always eager to help others and lead them in the right direction. I am lucky to have her as a student this year. Congratulations, Ellie. Next, our first grade student, Rain Dye. Rain is a first grade student in Miss Bell's class. Miss Bell says, Rain is an excellent student that always listens and follows directions. She does her work in class and is always willing to help others. Her behavior is exceptional, and I know I can always count on her to do her best. I'm lucky to have such a responsible student in my classroom. Congratulations, Rain. And last but not least, Lindley Bridges. Lindley Lindley is in kindergarten in Miss Gibby's class. Her teacher says that Lindley is a pleasure to have in class. She consistently demonstrates a strong sense of responsibility by taking care of her belongings, following classroom routines, and helping her classmates when they need it. She always makes sure to complete her work on time and is a role model for her friends in staying focused and organized. I'm so proud of her and her dedication to learning this year. Congratulations, Lindley.
We have Tryon Elementary.
All right, we will start with fourth grade. I have Ryder Hampton. Ryder's teacher writes that he is very respectful and always helping out in the classroom as well as his friends. All right, next I have Vanessa. Vanessa is one of my students. I can't say too many good things about her. She's great. She's always very respectful and very helpful. All right, next we have Aria. Aria is always helpful in the library. She will take the lead in the group when needed. I can always count on her to have a job in the library and it get done. Okay, next we have Jay. Jay demonstrates Jay demonstrates an enthusiasm for learning. He is very respectful and considerate of others. All right, last we will have Henry. Henry's teacher writes that he is very respectful of others, he is kind and listens well.
The boys are getting outnumbered by the girls.
Did y'all notice something? The high school girls, when people got out of line, they.
Okay, we're gonna get them. In order.
Yeah, I think she's gonna play some.
Now, can everybody's baby be seen? Now's your opportunity to get up and get as close as you want to take on any pictures. We got a good crowd tonight. Like I say, y'all can come close. We want you to do a good job. Y'all have so much to be impressed of. Hello. Pictures. We've got something. Okay, let's give them one more round. Council meeting tonight, it's a school night. All are welcome to leave. If you want to stay, you're welcome. stay for a council meeting, but I know these little ones gotta get some big. They can go off, so very dry.
Some calming lavender. I was heading to the bathroom and all the principals called me. And then didn't even make it to the bathroom.
What, did they have some business for you?
Well, we do like oral conference every year.
Hey, how are you doing? Yeah.
And so I hadn't had a chance to get to the middle school or the high school. And so they were right there. So I took an opportunity.
Make a good, yes.
Well, that way they used to. But last year, if you raised $7,000. So, I mean, fire department's been doing it for 7 years, something like that. Long time.
That little baby car.
That baby car you drive around.
We'll give them just a moment to get down the hallway. I won't close them. Okay. Now we have our request to speak opportunity for public comment. This is an opportunity for members of the public to express items of interest to the mayor and city council. This is not a time to respond or take action. Any necessary action will be taken under advisement. Speakers are asked to use proper decorum and to limit comments to no more than 3 minutes. Please state your name and address upon reaching the podium. The only one we have tonight is Mr. Aaron Gradidier.
Greeting Mayor, City Council, fellow citizens of Bessemer City. My name is Aaron Gradidier. I live at 517 Costner School Road. On behalf of some of our senior citizens and other vulnerable citizens of this town, they would like to know why the city neglected to check on the safety of those who needed it most during and following Hurricane Helene. Many of these citizens were left without power and water, especially if they were on a well. They ended up living in unsanitary conditions for a minimum of several days, up to over a week. Did anybody in the city check in on any of these citizens, provide them with water or food, get in touch with nonprofit organizations that could have helped these people? I, in fact, found out about several senior citizens that this city neglected to check on, and the minute I found out that they were without power for coming up on a week, I made a few calls to Duke Power. They sent trucks, and within 2 hours, the senior citizens I'm taking care of had power. One octogenarian, 80-year-old citizen of this town, went 4 days with no food and no power. One nonagenarian, a 90-year-old, and her adult daughter, who is also a senior and disabled, were forced to use the bathroom outside of their homes in the woods. This provided numerous risks to their health and well-being. Did the City Works Department provide gallon buckets of water for people without access to water so they could maintain sanitary conditions? Did the city provide power outlets outside of city buildings, city hall, police station, fire station, library, to allow people to charge their devices. Some of our citizens had no means of communication. So what did we do? We decided to give them 10 extra days to pay our water bill, but not because of hardship on them, but because the company you contracted with weren't on top of their jobs. Instead of being the city with a heart and taking care of vulnerable people, you choose to spend thousands of dollars on rebranding the city to remove heart from who we are. I think that instead of frivolous proclamations should be made for every 100-year-old citizen in our town. They need to be recognized. And they definitely deserve recognition for drinking the water in this town and living through it. I would like to personally thank Bessemer City Police, a Bessemer City police officer who stopped to ask if we needed help to move a large object off the side of the road. I was unable to catch his name, and the police vehicles still do not have numbers
Your
on them
time
to
has
identify
expired.
them. Am I expired?
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
I was about to end anyway. Thank you.
Okay, moving right along. Our consent agenda this month consists of approval of minutes of our regular meeting of October the 14th, 2024, and approval of minutes of our work session meeting of October the 29th, 2024. What's council's desire concerning the consent agenda? We have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Okay, next is our business items. We have a public hearing to amend Land Development Code, LDC, and abolish Section 5.1, which is the flood hazard overlay. May I have a motion from council to open this public hearing? We have a motion. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Okay, the public hearing is now open. Do we have anyone that would like to speak in favor of this regarding the abolishment of Section 5.1 of the Land Development Code? Do we have anyone that would like to speak in opposition of abolishing 5.1 of the Land Development Code? Okay, do I have a motion from council that we close this public hearing? Do we have a motion? Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. And next, we have a public hearing to amend the Land Development Code and establish Section 5.1 flood hazard overlay. So we just abolished it, and now we're going to reinstate it. Do I have a motion from council to open this public hearing? Do we have a motion? Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hands. Unanimous. This public hearing is now open. Do we have anyone that would like to speak in favor of establishing Section 5.1 of the Land Development Code? Do we have anyone that would like to speak in opposition of the Land Development Code? Okay, do I have a motion from council that we close this public hearing? Okay, we have a motion to close. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Okay, next is our ordinance to amend the Land Development Code and establish Section 5.1. City Council will consider adopting an ordinance to amend text in the following sections of the Land Development Code 5.1, flood hazard overlay. I have a motion from council to approve this ordinance. Do we have a motion? Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Thank you. And now I would like to introduce Mr. Slade Harvin, who's going to speak to us about the lead and copper replacement line project. If you'll come to the podium.
Good evening. Thank you all for allowing me to come. That wanted to just provide an update to the council. Several months ago, had started the project to identify and begin an inventory of the city's water service lines to identify the materials. The first step has been completed, which is the initial inventory that is required by EPA, of which was submitted October 15th and initially identified what was known, and now sort of the next steps, which initially any of the unknowns, the city has sent out notifications just advising customers that currently have water services that the city is not aware of that material, just notifying them that it is unknown. And now sort of the initial stage being complete, will move into the potholing and visual verification stage, which will then take any of the unknown service lines, physically uncover those through a air and vacuum excavation system to allow that material to be known, recorded, and then resubmitted to the state to complete the requirement. So far, I was going to say, no lead services are known to exist in the city. As far as the current staff does not know of any. There may be some galvanized lines of which may need to be replaced as part of the EPA mandate, which is also where the city staff is sort of looking to do this initial resolution to go and apply for funding to help the city fund any replacement of galvanized lines that are found in the city. And sort of that intent is being able to be sort of in front of a lot of the other water systems applying to have a better chance and hopefully more favorable terms for the funding of that replacement of those lines, along with sort of the resolution to allow the city to accept the funding that was awarded to the city for the initial inventory, which I think is noted in there, but commends the city for being able to obtain the 90% principal forgiveness or kind of grant to be able to fund this work. And then sort of hopefully be able to start pending the state's processing of the funding documents, which should be completed, I think, by the end of this week, if not sooner, submitted to the state. And once that's approved, allows sort of the reimbursement back to the city to have the potholing begin, of which then will be done, anticipate being able to be complete by February, hopefully. I think we're still kind of, initial schedule shows by April, but hopefully be able to work quicker, weather kind of dependent, but to be able to complete the project earlier, and submit the updated inventory, and then work towards any galvanized lines that are found to submit and be able to help the city replace those. And sort of the initial update, but open to any questions that the council may have.
Have any questions for Mr.
Keep
Harvin?
mentioning galvanized. What about copper?
The copper itself is not an issue. It's sort of considered sort of the lead and copper inventory, but the copper is not an issue. It's more of the potential for lead-based solder that may have been in houses prior to 1985, prior to the lead ban, as part of the Clean Water Act. But it's sort of that's sort of the name, but really the galvanized lines become an issue if there was lead that could trap the lead particles in sort of the older galvanized lines or in actual lead service lines themselves.
Any other questions? Thank you
Okay,
so
well, thank you
much.
very much.
I was just going to reiterate the information that you have in your packet. This is the resolution, like Mr. Harmon mentioned, that gives us the ability to continue with this process. But information about the letters that were sent out has been posted on our website. Now, of course, that does not affect every household. Like you mentioned, I think it was 1,200 roughly residents that receive that or customers that receive that. So that information is online as well with some frequently asked questions. So if people from the public have an interest in learning more about that, we do have that resource on our website.
Thank you.
If, what we're worried about is just from our meter in, is that right? There's nothing outside of that?
Do you want to explain kind of the focal point of the on the private side to the project?
Yes, the focal point as far as the identification is the service line itself, which there's two components. There's the system side, which is effectively to the water main, to the water meter, which is the system side service. And then also on the private side service, which is effectively the meter to approximately 5 feet of the structure itself. And that's where, once the visual verification work occurs for the areas that are unknown, we'll be performing about a 6 to 8 inch hole over the water service line. Could be on both sides of the meter or customer side or system side, just depending on what was currently known, which will verify it and be roughly 18 inches off of the water meter to provide a better understanding of the material on either side that makes up the entire service itself.
Other questions? And what's council's desire concerning adopting this resolution? And we have a motion to approve this resolution. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Thank you very much. Next is to talk about.
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
I remember though.
Okay.
So
You wanna
number,
look at this?
yeah, if you have in front of you.
Yeah.
Number 9 on your, in your agenda, it's entitled Meritage Homes Stewart Crossing Natural Gas Capital Project. This is a request for council to approve a capital project ordinance. This is for the natural gas improvements in the Stewart Crossing major subdivision. The packet should have a copy. Yeah, Attorney Smith has one. The capital project ordinance, this was developed by our gas engineer. So this would be a city project to install natural gas. The revenue to do this is coming from Meritage Homes. That was part of the conditional zoning for that project. So city funds are not being used to install the gas. We are just administering the project. They're paying for the engineering, the development, the plans, the construction, everything. We will have a agreement that we're working on with Meritage Homes in the next couple of months, a development agreement for this project. This is just setting the baseline so that we can get that in place as we start getting billed for various things. Have to answer any questions you may have.
Or they're funding the project, we're just distributing the funds?
Right, they're
that's how that-
basically giving us all the money and then we're doing the project because we have our own natural gas system. They felt more comfortable if we did that with our own gas engineer, gas contractors, and then it ultimately becomes part of our system, but they're paying for it 100%.
So if they give us a set amount and it exceeds that, they're
Right,
covering
then
that
it'll go up
cost.
as well, and that's what the agreement will cover once we have that finalized. So
There'll
it's,
be wording in there that says that. as it
yeah, in the
goes over
agreement,
the
Attorney
6
Smith might be
degree.
able to
Yeah.
answer that.
Council, that's a good question. So this is fairly common. Where a developer, you get done with water and sewer. The developer will want to put a project in that doesn't have water and sewer. And the city will say, well, we'll give you the loaning or whatever. We'll be happy to extend the time. You got to pay for it. And so Josh mentioned there will be a contract Heritage.
Yep.
Heritage, where this is all buttoned up legally so that they got a. But they don't get behind the project. So it's pretty.
So in other words, that contract's gonna make it to where we have no blowback on the city financially.
Did this, yes. Developer on one. South Union Road where you turn to go to the racetrack. 900 subdivision. Big time put that together, but it is a fairly standard practice.
Any other questions? Okay, what's council's desire concerning this project?
Make motion.
We have a motion to approve. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Okay, next we need to establish a public hearing for rezoning request for Better Path Homes LLC. You should consider establishing a public hearing for Monday, December the 9th, which will be our December meeting, 2024 at 7:00 p.m. to hear public comment regarding a rezoning request for property located at tax parcels 120960, which is 0.83 acres from neighborhood residential to neighborhood residential conditional district to accommodate the development of 3 single-family homes.
I just want to make one quick
Okay.
comment, just to make note. This was an item that the planning board heard earlier this month on considered CD 03/2024. You probably heard the mayor say it's 3 single-family homes, so why in the world is it considered a major subdivision? So by our code, anytime you have utility extensions or new roads, it automatically triggers a major subdivision. The developer wanted to forego essentially and ask for areas of relief in the code that are typically required for major subdivisions with the exchange of various conditions. In your packet, you have that staff report along with the letter from the developer and the draft areas of relief and conditions of approval. We will go over this in more detail at the work session, so council is aware. I just wanted to make you aware of the project, because it's a little unique, being only 3 houses. Typically, that's a minor subdivision, and that wouldn't require council approval.
What we're doing tonight.
Right,
Yes.
right, just the hearing.
Okay, do I have a motion to set this public hearing for December the 9th?
Make a motion.
Further discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Next, we need to establish a public hearing, a rezoning request from Development Solutions Group. We'll consider establishing a public hearing for Monday, December the 9th, 2024 at 7:00 p.m. to hear public comment regarding a rezoning request for property located at tax parcel number 151678, which is 6.26 acres from urban residential conditional district to urban residential conditional district. The developer is requesting a modification to the project's relief and conditions. You want to speak on that one?
Yes, ma'am. So this is more commonly referred to as the Yellow Jacket Lane Townhome Project. This project was first submitted last October. It went to the planning board, I believe, 2 times, went to council once or twice in work session, and it was voted on in May of this past year. As part of that, the reliefs and conditions, the developer had to install natural gas as a condition, very similar to what we just talked about with Meritage Homes. The developer has come back requesting a modification to that, so therefore it has to go through that process again. We will have this on the December planning board agenda for them to provide a recommendation on that modification to the conditions, and then that will be on the council meeting agenda with the hearing and tentative vote in the second week of December. So it's the exact same project. It's just a modification of one of the conditions that they had agreed to with the approval of the council. And I think didn't realize possibly what that actually meant. But needless to say, it's part of the conditions, and this is the process if they wish to have that removed. So this is just reviewing that once again.
Okay, do I have a motion from council to establish this public hearing?
Can I have something? We're working with them to get this started. Do they have a time limit to start? That must have been a long time.
A time limit to start on this project in particular.
Well, 14th Street and that has been a while.
That's one of the questions the attorney, not to put you on the spot, he can probably answer some of those questions. That's come up as a question with a couple of other projects. This one in particular was just approved in May. So, I mean, it doesn't really trigger anything. But I don't know, David, if you want to speak to conditional districting for
The ordinance
other
says
projects.
in general that remains valid unless it's, it can be rescinded after 2. And there's a little bit of an ambiguity, frankly. Language of one of the permits, the actual reason of the permit God sent me, and the ordinance itself, the enabling. But my opinion is that even though it's longer than 2 years, if the developer comes in with a building permit, you can see the project even 2 years from now. Now, the way it works is that if 2 years goes by and he doesn't have a building permit, the building permit is what we call creates the vested rights. Once a developer gets a building permit to put in a project or do a building or development, and you have vested rights to do that. It can't be done. In the case of these conditional uses, after 2 years, woman comes up and says, "It's been too long, I don't want that project anymore." You can have a hearing and rescind that condition. It's a little bit, not contradictory, but they're kind of shades of meaning. But I guess the best way to say it is the permit doesn't expire after 2 years. It can be. Developer doesn't get.
The reason I'm asking, I think one development has got 3 properties. And I'm concerned about them just, is that right?
I think you're referring to a town hall project on 14th Street. Is that right? Near Surf and Turf?
Well, I just named that one because that's off the top of my head.
Okay.
But I think one developer has bought 3 sites. Is that right?
I'd have to go back and look and see which particular projects you're referring to. There's one developer that's done multiple projects or has had multiple conditional zoning districts approved.
I'm concerned about him buying up all the property and then not doing no building, and I don't know if I should be concerned about it, but
You really have to look at them more. Hard to make it. Yeah, hard to make it. Process it.
Any other questions? Okay, do I have a motion to establish this public hearing? Any further discussion? I'm sorry. Okay, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Thank you very much. Next is our city manager's report.
All right, just a couple things, Mayor. I truly only have a few things. Yeah, I know. Wanted to remind everyone, and I believe this is also open to members of the public as well. Contegra Health will have a ribbon cutting celebrating their new facility on Virginia Avenue tomorrow afternoon at 5 p.m. to 5, or between 5 and 5:30 is when it starts. That'll be obviously at their new site, so we're very happy to welcome them into the community. Christmas in the City will take place on November 24th from 4 to 6, starting with the parade around 4:30 and then ending the night with the annual tree lighting ceremony. The Trine Waterline Project there's a community meeting taking place this Thursday night at Tryon Elementary School. I believe that starts at 6 o'clock. The county has information on their website, and we're going to share that today into tomorrow as well. But this is to explain the project that is taking place, the county-funded, ARPA-funded project that extends city water to the Tryon community. This explains the resolution that council recently passed about providing a period of time where new customers don't have to pay system development fees for a short period of time. It also explains the process that they would do to connect to water, and then also answer any questions that they have. So we're excited to see that project continuing. Development in general continues to not slow down. We've had several additional infill projects that have submitted permit applications. A lot of the major subdivision projects are continuing as well. Osage Mill will be completed by the end of this calendar year with a ribbon cutting scheduled for March of next year. So we're very excited about that. I believe there's about 20 units that are occupied at this point in time. Lennar Homes, Creekside Cottages, I believe they have upwards of close to 50 homes finished, and I believe 5 or 6 have already been sold. They're continuing to move forward in their second phase. Myself and staff, we met with Meritage Home staff, so the project ordinance that you approved tonight, we met with them last week to discuss the project, and they're looking to move forward with some minor grading and clearing later this year into the beginning of next year. And then we have, of course, multiple townhome projects that are looking to start beginning of next year as well, and continue to move forward. So it's a busy time. A lot of good projects taking place. I think the market, as that continues to shift back and forth, that gets more interest. But we are also being at the same time mindful of what that type of impact has to the city. And so that's been some discussions that we've had internally as we assess that with our utilities, also infrastructure, which we've had plans for many years to accommodate the growth that we're experiencing now. But just look ahead as to what growth looks like as this I'll say water hose continues to stay on. But all things good in that area. The fire department had their barbecue sale this past week. I believe it was the 46th year that they had that. And so I believe that went very well on Friday and Saturday of last week. And one other thing I did want to mention, it actually has to do with public comment, if that's okay, Mayor.
Sure.
A couple of comments related to city response during the storm. So I did want to reiterate that the city never lost water or sewer service during the storm. We have backup generators that kept water and sewer service active the entire time during the storm. Let's see. There was a comment related to rebranding of the city, of that being wasteful. That's actually not city funds. Those are grant funds paying for that project. Utility bills were extended because our utility bill provider was impacted by Hurricane Helene. And so the bills did not go out in time, which is why the city did not charge late fees for that month, giving people a break because they did not get bills until I think a week to a week and a half beyond when they normally do. And then also just a general comment, I think it's a good reminder that when you have a community disaster, it does require a community response. It's not just the city's responsibility to respond. So I think it's just a humble reminder that when we do have natural disasters or we have things that impact, it's the whole community's responsibility to partner and to work together. So I just wanted to make those comments related to comments made.
Thank you. Okay, now it's time for council's discussion.
I got a long list today.
You're
I'm gonna
pulling
pull
a
a Josh.
Josh.
I'm pulling a
Okay.
Josh. I spent roughly about an hour out at our city cemetery here on South 13th Street today, and it's disheartening to see the amount of garbage. Beer cans, I could probably fill up a 55-gallon plastic bag of it. It's all in the wood line, probably within 15 feet. It's very visible. McDonald's trash just discarded in the middle of the road. I household garbage is piling up quite a bit on the south side of town. I believe one house has got 5 mattresses on one side of their house. And on the front side of the house is, you couldn't fit it all right there in that little foyer right there. So I guess my question to that is, I know that we adopted the resolution with Waste Management. How long does that stuff allow to sit on the curb is my question. And I believe Mr. Aaron had some garbage disposed at his place of business here on Virginia Avenue. So I guess that's my question. Maybe Josh knows that answer.
So you're talking about like household waste that is generated
Mattresses.
from the home?
Yeah, mattresses,
Right.
dressers. name
So,
it.
so the process is that when a homeowner disposes, if it's homeowner material, when they dispose that material, they're supposed to contact Waste Pro to schedule pickup and payment, because that's now an added service. Waste Pro, when they arrive at a home, and if they notice that they have what's called bulk pickup, and it's not in their service ticket, they will tag that material to say, hey, you need to call Waste Pro at this number to schedule pickup, because your garbage pickup is different from your bulk pickup. After roughly about a week, if it's still there without any action, they send that report to code enforcement, and then code enforcement works through the ordinance as far as finding, assessing the notice that they have to remove the bulk or have it picked up, because at that point it's considered trash and debris. I will say that has been a challenge, because we've had a lot of people that are still understanding that it is now an added service, which we knew this would be the case, given that we've transitioned from last year to this year, fiscal year anyways, with how bulk pickup was done. That was primarily, if you recall, done to prevent a tremendous increase in our per cart costs for every citizen. So it is an ongoing issue, and I will say code enforcement, that's probably the busiest thing that they stay busy with beyond grass when it's not grass season. As far as litter itself, if that's reported as litter, the police department will do a report to disclose that if a property owner or business is notifying us that they have litter, and then that goes through our process to be picked up either through Public Works or Waste Pro.
Thank you for that answer. And again, with my statement with Aaron, there's been quite a bit of garbage that's been dumped at our wastewater treatment plant out on Sunset. I don't know how many of you are aware of that, but it's increasing, and it's very sad to see.
Yeah.
They're dumping it on city property?
So Sunset Lane has been, I think, a dumping site for a number of years. I know a lot of people have said it's due to the increase in cost, which that could be part of it some, but I know we've always have had dumping along Sunset Drive. I know Jamie could probably give some information as to how much Sunset Drive, and then also, or sorry, Sunset Lane, and then also dead end streets, which are pretty typical dumping sites as well.
One thing I've noticed in town is there's a pallet and a sheet of plywood that's been leaning up against the buildings right here on Virginia Avenue for well over a week. They're probably still there now. If you walk down past Otis, is there on the left, just before the annex. It's been there for well over a week now. Again, that's just disheartening to see that the property owner doesn't take care of their property. Maybe that's something we need to address with them. Also, earlier this evening, I'd like to thank the fire department for their quick response. One of our newly constructed homes had a working car fire right up against it and melted the siding on it. They got there very fast and very efficiently, put the fire out, and saved minimal damage to the home. So.
Where was this home located at?
Yeah, right behind Oak Street. So wonderful job to those guys. I had a gentleman that had messaged me in regards to the vehicle break-ins. I'd like to commend the police department as well for jumping in that as quick as they did. People like to assume that our police department's not working weekends. That was the comment that was made, and, I was assured that they were there pretty quick. So great job to those guys. That's all I got.
Thank you.
I had a complaint over on Logan Street, out there close to the cemetery. And they was wanting to know, they had a lot of break-ins in a couple weeks, and they was wanting to know, could we put cameras out there? So I mentioned that. It's on Logan Street, out near the graveyard.
Anything else? Yep. Thank you. Alan?
I just want to say something, on the heel of what Michael said, and that's the visibility of our police department. I can't drive through town without seeing one of our police vehicles somewhere. So I think our police department is extremely visible, very
Absolutely.
visible. And there's not a day that I drive through town that I don't see a cruiser somewhere, if not multiple. I just want to add to that.
Thank you very much.
I agree with all those. We've got the best city around, the best employees, the best. We're all human. We're going to make mistakes, but we're working for the good of Bessemer City and the citizens. So I want to thank everybody for allowing me to serve.
Nothing much, I think, just something for Josh, got a couple calls about debris, and I know we have a debris contractor picking up. But where do we stand as far as the debris they're not picking up?
As
I know
far as
you've seen it on
percentage wise
Faulkner.
of what they picked up, or?
Well, I guess we ought to question the contractor a little bit and find out what the fine print is. Are they supposed to pick up all of it? Are they gonna rake it up and get the small stuff? Or are they just picking up the big stuff?
We've had a couple of complaints from residents where, so their primary goal is to pick up the bulk of items, the bigger items that we cannot pick up with our equipment. There have been cases where there are some very small piles of limbs that are left. We've notified residents that have called in that the goal with that is to do a second sweep with the street sweeper and also with city crews, because these are very small piles of debris. We've had a couple of questions about debris being left on the side of the road or partially in the road. And that's what Public Works is doing as far as a second sweep. So that is taking place, but our goal is to get the biggest items out first, now that we finally got approval from DEQ, or from FEMA, sorry.
So I guess one other question you might want to check into, I know the folks that's in the old Franklin house there at the corner of Todd Drive, he has no capability of moving that large tree that actually fell on my property. So I don't know if you have to check with the contractor and check with the Army Corps to see if, I know Army Corps has agreed to remove, large trees from private, property as well as the right of way, but, I think we're gonna have some around with some of these larger trees.
Do you remember the address?
I don't right off the top of my head.
I'll just write down Franklin House. I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
but I know we've got, larger trees that's on some of the other streets here, just right down the road that they may not have the capability to get that off, but I think the Army.
One thing
Corps
code enforcement's been working on is connecting with people that have these larger trees on their property. Applying that towards what the code allows or does not allow, and seeing if there is a clear ordinance violation with that, but also providing them a resource to explain what you can apply for potentially through FEMA, because it's a declared disaster. But also reiterating that you can't just leave, a large tree down in your front yard or backyard or on property itself.
I'm not gonna check with that. Corner of Dixon, where the tree fell
Yeah.
across the road. They've got some huge ones in the back.
We are actively picking up, leaves and stuff now with our vac truck, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are.
They were out today. Yeah. Anything else, Brent? Connie?
I like to thank Becky and Josh for coming out to my sister's funeral and see friends. I'd like to thank, Idea for sending out the beautiful plan. And for all the taxpayers that gives us money that we can do this. It meant a lot. Sorry. And I thank all of our employees, fire department, police department, they were out 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, cutting trees out of roads, and that's really important, and we want to thank you for it. And, you might can tell me, the Cameron and some guy was doing a license check over at the Litfield. You know who that young man was with him?
Have a couple,
I think that's what it was. He's number one. That is a really, really nice guy. And, I rode through town on Saturday. I was shocked. There was cars everywhere. And, I like to just thank everybody for all the work they're doing and thank everybody for the prayers, because it really meant a lot. Thank you.
Again, we're very sorry for your loss. David, do you have? Deputy Chief, do you have? Idea? Okay. Here being, we can't really adjourn just yet. At this time, we're going to go into closed session for a personnel matter as permitted under North Carolina General Statute subsection 143-318 .11A3 and 6 to discuss a personnel matter. And for the ones that are viewing us online, we will not be coming back online once we come out of this closed session. If anything is reported, you can look at the minutes online and see what happened. But at this time, I'm going to have to ask everyone to please step out so we can go into closed session.